Ooh.
What's up?
Hello, I just added you to the stage.
Awesome. Okay, so how do I get this onto mine?
Good question.
Okay. I could just post something. I can just share yours.
Okay. I know there was a way on the YouTube side to add you.
Okay. Like from my YouTube channel or like.
Mm-hmm. I think. I don't know. We'll get better with it.
Yeah.
But at least for right now, we're streaming.
Yeah, regularly too, so people will get used to it and at least know to look for us and stuff.
Yeah, so let's see.
Hold on, I'm gonna grab my laptop too.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, good evening, Trevor. So we're at least connected on Facebook.
Awesome.
And then my sister commented on Insta. YouTube, though. Oh, yeah. We're live on all three. Look at that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Cool.
So maybe I'll just share yours on my stories and tell people to go over to yours instead of trying to yeah. We'll just do it step by step and eventually we'll have both of us on all three.
Right?
This is better than last week though.
Yes. Okay. Hi, Irene. Hi, Cade. Let's say YouTube has a live setting you must enable first and do 24-hour verification process. I thought I did that, though. I'm pretty sure it's live on – it says it's live on YouTube and that 22 people are watching.
Awesome. That's pretty good. All right.
Yeah, we got all three.
I have to be careful. I don't know if you saw my other video. I shared it on Instagram, and I was talking about people don't do mail-in ballots. Go in person, because Ken Paxton threw 2.5 million away in Texas. We just had them throw 42,000 away in Louisiana, and I got an account strike. They didn't just take my video down. I got an actual account strike, and I'm like, this was all in the news. I am just repeating the news basically, and you're shutting this down and giving me all kinds of warnings. And they're really, TikTok is really censoring people right now.
Yeah. Yes, hello, YouTube comments. Perfect. Look at that. We did it.
Awesome. Okay. I'm gonna make a post on.
Yes, I will.
Okay, I'm just gonna go to TikTok real quick and share your live.
What's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining. It's our first time doing the Facebook, Insta, YouTube live all at the same time, but I think that we got it. So that's pretty cool. And I should be able to get comments from all three of them here in this window.
That's awesome. All right. So, how's everybody doing tonight?
Right? We have.
That's cool. How did that event go? Didn't you just have? I thought I saw a post on Facebook that you just had an event, or maybe that was like an older one.
I feel like I'm at so many different events all the time.
Right.
There was a really cool event on Saturday where there's this author, I believe Michael Hayden, who did his book launch, and he wrote about how Shreveport was one of the top cities in America back in the late 80s, early 90s to really like show the government and like push the government to recognize the AIDS epidemic that was happening in the country.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And so he had interviewed a bunch of people from the Shreveport area who were here back in the 80s and 90s and told their stories. He put out a documentary, and then, oh, come on already.
What happened?
Just a comment that I had to ban.
Oh, geez.
Come on, guys.
Well, if you don't have trolls, you're not doing anything right. So, however that saying goes.
But yeah, so it was really cool to hear from the people who were a huge reason why the government understood the AIDS epidemic and the importance of it and recognized it. So
funny you should say that, because in prison we had to watch this video about like the hepatitis and the AIDS epidemic. So like the government found out about it with the blood transfusions. I'm sorry, more context is required for this. During blood transfusions, they weren't testing people for diseases, and it caused the AIDS and hepatitis epidemic to skyrocket. And then on top of that, they didn't tell people once they found out. So like the government was totally, partially responsible for it getting as bad as it did. And I think that was just another way, let's take out, undesirable groups of people. And, that's one of the many ways they're doing it. Just like, in my book, I touch on how they did it with addiction. And, Big Pharma profited off of, the suffering and addictions of how many Americans. I mean, we're up to how many overdoses, like in the last 10 years, like over 1 million, I think it is. And, like the rehabs, they're making all this money, and, it just funnels the prison systems and gets the corporations their free labor. And, here we are, and it's more profiting off of suffering. Like, that's what it always comes back down to, I feel like, in this country. But you can check that out in my book, No Justice, Just Us. I break down a lot of things that need to be changed, that I personally believe Matt's the guy to do it for District 4 and the rest of the country. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining. Ashley, switch from Insta. Cool. So it looks like we are on all 3 platforms. I have my 3 screens up, so it's a little disorienting, but
yeah, I don't know how people do that. Like, when they play those video games, like with 3 different screens, I'm like, how do you know what's going on?
Right. Well, there's a delay. I think Insta is delayed a few seconds, and then YouTube is delayed maybe 5 or 6 seconds. So it's like it happens here and then here and then here, but I'll get used to it. Yeah. Well, welcome everybody. There are 8 people here right now, which is cool.
Awesome.
And hopefully we'll have more. So Elizabeth and I are here just to talk about her book, my candidacy, Louisiana politics, the prison industrial complex, all of the above. So if you have questions, let us know. If you want us to talk about a certain topic, let us know. We're going to try to start doing these every week, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen what's been going on in Maine? Have you followed Graham Plattner's campaign at all? He showed up on Susan Collins had a bunch of I think they were veterans, arrested, right, for demanding, accountability and everything. And he goes right up with what he calls the Collins plan, or it has her name in it. I read the article. I only had a couple minutes to read the article, but he has a corruption takedown plan. Mm-hmm. And he went right to her office and sat outside. And of course she wouldn't come out because Susan Collins hasn't had a town hall in 20 years. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, at least I will give the Democrats that. They have been having a lot of town halls, which is good. I mean, the Republicans won't. They just, cry about socialism. that was also hilarious. Mike Johnson's new speech, scaring people with a better life.
Yeah, it's so bad. Oh no.
Yeah.
For reference, Elizabeth is from Maine originally, lives in Louisiana now, but so that's why the Maine discussions. Graham Plattner, you went up there and helped door knock for him, correct?
Yes. Well, I met some of the volunteers. I had it was my son's graduation, so we had a lot of family stuff planned and everything. But I did get to meet a few people, and they got good things going. But I keep telling them, I'm like, if that treacherous trio get in, I'm talking about LePage, Collins, and whoever that other Trump soldier, whatever, running for governor. If those 3 get in, what's happening in Louisiana will happen in Maine. They will throw the votes out. They will purge voters to inactive. I do not like fear mongering, and I feel like the Democrats have done nothing but, try to scare the people into voting for them. Vote for us, or Yahtzees are going to take over. The metaphorical weapon they've had pointed at the people is political warfare to me. And, you're not doing anything for us. And you want us to be more scared of Mom Donnie and Graham Plattner, and talk about, how he was bad to his girlfriends and stuff. We have a rapist in the White House, who's continuously doing horrible things and refusing to hold anybody accountable. And I see Graham has a plan to hold people accountable, and so do you. You want to go after the people in the suits who are doing the most damage, and that's what we need right now. And we need better lives, period. We shouldn't work 40, 50, 60 hours a week and still stress about groceries and food and rent and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We do have some questions already, which is cool. Questions, comments, and topics. So, one question. So, what do you feel Louisiana can do to enhance its economic diversity and vitality? So, do you want to take it? Do you want me to start?
So I think, when basic needs are met, people work better. And, all these corporations are coming to Louisiana with these huge tax breaks, and it's not doing anything for them. And I think thing number one is tax the rich and give people some relief, give them more food programs and, rental assistance. Like, it should not be like this. Make these people pay their fair share. These corporations make so much money off of the backs of the people of Louisiana, and they get nothing for it but cancer, medical bills, and just hurt. They get hurt at work, and then, these companies will just starve them out because they know they don't have money to pay for a lawyer because they're not working. And, it's just not right. The wealth gap between the elite in France during the French Revolution, what was not even close to what we are experiencing right now in America. The difference between the wealthy and the poor, like it's more than them. And they stormed the gates of Versailles, and it was off with their type deal. And I'm not saying we should do that. I'm just saying something needs to happen.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good point. The first thing that we need is just basic life expenses being covered. So everybody deserves the right to healthcare. Everybody deserves the right to a living wage. Everybody deserves the right to access information, and we need to have a life where we are safe, happy, healthy, secure, and prosperous enough to continue our lineage if that's something that we want. And the first thing, one of the things to do that is like looking at our healthcare system, cutting out middlemen, making sure that everybody has access to good healthcare, that it's not tied to your job, and that especially people who are the most vulnerable get access to healthcare, people who have served in the military and coming back home, people who are elderly, people who have disabilities. We need to protect them and then expand that out. Another thing is looking at minimum wage, and exactly what you were talking about. My team and I, we've created a policy proposal, and it's going to go up on our website pretty soon, about how we can use the money that typically goes to corporate welfare, to subsidizing these large corporations, and take that and instead subsidize small businesses, small, under $5 million in revenue businesses, use that as a bridge to help with minimum wage increase. Because right now, one of the biggest things that is scary to business owners, to small business owners, is how do we increase minimum wage, but know that businesses aren't set up right now to pay to double their staff payment. Well, if you're able to use this money as a bridge from the federal government, instead of subsidizing large corporations, let's subsidize and kind of even out as we increase our minimum wage. There's a way to do that really effectively, and our team has kind of ironed out all those details. So I'm excited to put those out to everybody.
That's amazing. And just to prove that giving people basic necessities makes society safer. Like, when I got out of prison, Janet Mills took over for Paula Page as governor, and she gave us poor folk, us peasants, health care. So I was able to go to therapy. I was able to get my pain management under control, which is where my addiction stemmed from, getting assaulted and almost unalived, and leaving me with a permanent injury. You can also read about that in my book. And it was just that bare minimum of giving me health care. I tried several times. Like, I would always relapse. I couldn't, because I couldn't deal with, my health issues that were going on, and I couldn't get it together. And, I haven't been back to prison. I haven't relapsed. I'm down here, I finally made it to my dream city and released a book. Like, I'm not out running the streets and out of desperation and insanity and running from my ex and all that. So, I mean, it's just little things like that. Like, I can't tell you how many, single moms I was in jail with, and they got busted selling their medication because they were just trying to pay bills.
Yeah.
It's so easy to demonize, the hug dealer and, the gang member and all that. They love to dehumanize people so that nobody has a problem with how their human rights are violated and what happens to them. Oh, well, they should have worked. They should have done this. Well, you weren't walking in their shoes. Maybe they tried that. I couldn't work after, my head injury. I kept getting fired because I'd either miss too many days or I'd have seizures, and they're like, she's a liability. We can't have her here. And they were right. So, I mean, like, just little things like that. I mean, it's simple. Other countries do it. It does not have to be this way. These people are sociopathic, profiting off of this.
Mm-hmm. Truly, yeah. The profiting off of the continued negative health of your people is insane.
I mean, when you're sick, it's torture. Like, think about it. I probably shouldn't have said that. But you're suffering. When you're sick, right. You are suffering all the time. Or if you have surgeries, you have to undergo these painful surgeries. And, I know how many Americans, their condition got so much worse because they couldn't afford to get it fixed until it was like they absolutely had to. And there was no choice in the matter. And the damage was a lot worse.
Yeah, well, and preventative health care, parental care, parental leave. If people have their needs met, you'll see crime rates go down. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We have the ability. It's do we care? Do we have the right priorities?
Right. Absolutely. And who's running it, who's profiting off of it. That's what you always have to go back to is follow the money. Who is profiting off of this, and who's not.
Absolutely. We have lots of comments, so thanks everybody for your comments. We have somebody telling me to smile. That's a great smile. Thanks, Kathy. But also, Kathy talks about ice raids in Monroe, West Monroe, up here in the north. We saw a lot of ice raids during last summer, throughout the winter. It kind of died down a little bit across the country when there was a switch up with Kristi Noem and Mark Wayne Mullen. It seems like they're picking back up. So, I mean,
and I just watched a thing. They're going after to denaturalize, citizens as well. Like, that's their newest thing that they want to do. And I was in prison the first time Trump was president, and I was in prison when Obama was president, and then I got out, ended up going back, and I was there when Trump was. And I'm telling you, it was night and day. He cut the budget for the prison, so there wasn't even enough food. They ran out of food, and the first people to go hungry are the low level security women, because we're the least of a problem. And I knew it was getting bad when you're sentenced, when the feds show up to pick you up, they shut all the phones off so you can't call to escape. Well, they started doing that when ICE would show up, and they started showing up at the end of people's bids who were not from here, and that was it. No goodbye, no nothing. We'd never hear from these people again. But it was odd because I made friends with the Russian inmates, oddly enough, because they saw my last name and they thought I was Russian. And it was actually kind of funny because they were all staring at me. I'm like, who are they? They're like, oh, those are the Russian inmates. I'm like, what? What do you mean the Russian? Why are they looking at me? That's not the fight I want. Anyways, they were really cool. I love those women. And they used to tell me stories about the fall of the Soviet Union and all that. But they were allowed to stay. ICE never came and got them. Like, what do you mean you're coming here to get everybody else, but the Russians are allowed to stay? And I thought that was very interesting. And when Trump got in office, Obama did the 2-point reduction. So, first time drug hug dealers, we got less time. And it got a lot of people out of prison. Like, the vibe was so different. Like, I watched somebody's 21-year sentence turn into 12 years. Like, it was like joyous. Like, God is blessing everybody right now to, busloads of people getting mandatory minimums and maximum sentences. And he passed something which, kind of like brought down some of it. I can't remember what it's called, but everybody was flipping out about it. I'm like, dude, did y'all forget when he like stacked the prisons with everybody, anybody who got, caught, first time offenders, not even violent crimes, they're getting mandatory minimums and maximum sentences. Like, what? Did y'all forget about that? Like, because it didn't work. He cut the budget and then he flooded the prisons, and it did nothing but cause problems. Mm-hmm. It was short staffed. Like, that's dangerous for everybody. I mean, you can get away with it. They get away with beating on, the women and the low level, security inmates who, aren't really organized and they're not going to do anything back. But they go down the hill to, those men who they're basically in gladiator school. Like, it's not good. Like, one doctor, I'm a little man that everybody loved, had a heart attack, and they would not take him to the hospital. Well, he ended up passing, having a heart attack, and they still had to call an ambulance, but not for him, for that doctor who would not like make the call and get him to a real hospital. Because they have, like some stuff they can do there, but if it's a real emergency, they have to be they bring the inmate to the hospital, and they never do. They never do. They don't want to pay for it. They love to stick us with, expensive hospital bills, but, when they lock us up, they refuse to pay for it. And it's like, dude, if you don't want to pay these people's hospital bills, let them out. Because, the punishment is to be detained, not to be harmed, not to be neglected, not to be starved or anything. It is to be detained. And essentially, according to you all, rehabilitated. But that never really happens either. I mean, you sometimes you get lucky if you're doing 15 years and you're in the feds and you have time to sit there and wait for the programs that take so long to get into, because they only have 10 or 12 people in them at a time, and you're at a prison with 1,400. So, yeah, I just thought that was, crazy when, just the stark difference between Trump and Obama. And it really, I always have to say this, like, it's halfway humanity. For decades, Americans were fine with other Americans getting their rights violated behind a wall because they were labeled a criminal, they were labeled a gang member, they were labeled a junkie or a prostitute or whatever, and it made it okay. Oh, well, they shouldn't have broke the law. They shouldn't have done this. They should stop feeling sorry for themselves and, get their life together. It's a little hard to get your life together when you don't know how to get yourself out of it and you're completely unstable, or, honest, your body's hooked on a substance that, like, it doesn't work like that. Mm-hmm. People need empathy. People need a way out. Like, if I had figured a way out, it wouldn't have taken me going to prison.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. There's so much that needs to change. I mean, one of the comments, prison for profit.
Yes.
For a long time.
This is how we got here with ICE and everything. Like, they tested it out on Americans, and it's like, all right, well, if we just convince people that, they're border hopping rapists and gang members, like, well, yeah, it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. They've escalated now, and they're doing it out front now instead of behind a wall.
Yeah, it's comment human dignity first. Absolutely. It's so hard because we need a set of laws and rules, and then we need consequences and either punishment, whatever you want to call it, and rehabilitation. And there has to be a way to do that, putting human dignity first, putting empathy first, putting caring first.
Absolutely. I mean, but it's also, every 8 to 10 years, a new substance is on the street, and it's the same pattern over and over and over again. And, we can blame the dealer on the corner, and we can even blame, the cartel across the wherever the hell they are. But it's our government and our elite doing this to us. Mm-hmm. They're the ones profiting. Big pharma. They passed a bill that they don't have to face jail time. Like, they had to pay out millions of dollars, but those people who knew what they were, selling, who knew they were lying, who knew they were profiting off of, a substance that was going to get Americans badly addicted and destroy lives and just put them in more pain. And the evilest part about opioids, it makes the pain receptors in your brain more sensitive. So when it wears off, you're in twice the amount of pain you were. Like, it is such an awful way to live. It is miserable. And, for them to just profit off of that and pay off doctors to lie to people. And in my case, they threatened me because I was pregnant and I didn't want to take an opioid pregnant. And the doctor said they were going to call CPS on me, that I was not listening to doctor's orders and my blood pressure kept skyrocketing, and they scared the shit out of me. And like, to do that to a young mother who was already traumatized and, in the hospital for like this horrible assault and injury, like, that's what they do. They set people up to fail. And, I keep watching videos of all these parents who don't want to put their kids on ADHD medication because it's an amphetamine and it's very addictive. And I don't blame them. We have a food that, basically poisons us. And they misdiagnosed me with bipolar too. Come to find out, I'm completely intolerant to artificial food dyes. Like, I won't sleep for, 24, 48 hours. And then when I do, I crash and I can't wake up. And it's processed foods like that will, can send people up and down. And, like, I have friends that, they're gluten-free here, but they go to Europe and they're not. They don't have to eat gluten-free that way. Like, it starts with that too. Like, we need food that doesn't poison us and send us into this predatory healthcare system that profits off of our suffering. And we need, them not to keep putting these substances in society where people are just going to get addicted and go to prison and feed this pipeline. That's also another reason they're doing this with the migrants, because the younger generation isn't replenishing their prison population the way that millennials did.
Yep.
They're not they saw what happened to us and they're like, hell no, we don't want to do that. Like, sex, drugs, and rock and roll is kind of, over with. They killed half of us off. Half of millennials are like almost gone practically, and mostly it's from the epidemic. So, I mean, we need a society where we're not constantly having this dumped on us, just so a couple scumbags at the top can make money. And it's not like just one thing. It's like all these different things, but they all do the same. It's always the same outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really important point, where when we're talking about all these people who are incarcerated for abuse of chemicals, it's not just illegal substances. A lot of them are legal and put out by big pharma, and the government, like, we know that some of these things are happening, but instead of trying to help people, we put them into this prison system.
Yes. And the newest thing, aside from big pharma, you've heard of Flocka, you've heard of bath salt, you've heard of all of those synthetic, substances. They're now selling in gas stations. And, that's what I went to prison for. I was one of the first people to go to prison over the analog substance. So this started of course, in that blue and white country, a chemist, our greatest ally, yeah, a chemist by the name of Dr. Z, and I encourage all of you to go look this up. He wanted to find a way for people to elevate their consciousness without going to jail and without being criminalized and demonized. So he took all the illegal substances, like, all the illegal substances, and just tweaked them a little bit in a lab. And so basically, bath salt is crystal. I don't want to get flagged, but you know what I'm talking about. It's two components different. And he just tweaks these substances a little bit, and it makes a whole new chemical. It makes a whole new substance. So it didn't flag, it doesn't show up on drug tests. Some of them don't. Bath salt showed up as Coca-Cola, put it that way. That's actually what I originally got charged for, because they didn't have the proper testing. And so they charged me that. And I was like, oh, well, you're dumb, because it's going to go to a lab and you're going to find it's not that. And it's totally legal, because it was legal at the time.
Yeah.
And so they had to write this new law, but where they have chemists that were just, altering these substances a little bit. And there were thousands of these substances. Like MDPV was the original bath salts, but they branch off into all kinds. And in the blue and white country, in the year 2000 is when the Hakik, I don't know, I'm not saying that right. There was a plant in Izzy that was banned because they extracted mephedrone from it, and then they banned all these other substances as well. So the vendors, the Dr. Z would sell these patents to vendors, and they would have it manufactured in China, like mass produced, because China did not have regulation. So they didn't care. They make all these substances for, these vendors. And they also set them up to take the fall, I think, the international fall for the whole thing. Like, oh, they're all coming from China. No, they're not. Well, it's being made there. Fine. But it's not coming from there. These vendors are over in Europe and, Izzy. And then in 2010, that's when all of those substances started coming over here, like in gas stations, in head shops. And the marketing of it was brilliant. They label it plant food, bath salts, or not for human consumption. Mm-hmm. So it had a shelf purpose. But yeah, it's just crazy to me. Like, and I get so angry when I think about it, because the government was collecting taxes off of this the whole time, and they knew the whole time. And it's just another thing that like crept in society and, just devastated our country. Children in DHS, that went up 13%. Like, because of that time period. And that's what always happens. They get us addicted to a substance, and then they put us in prison, and then our kids go missing in state custody. I can't tell you how many parents I was in prison with, and they did not know where their child was because they were in the state custody, and the state could not tell them where their kid was. Like, this is the cycle. And with these files that came out, where do you think those kids went? Mm-hmm. So you mean to tell me you're getting us addicted, you're putting us in prison and making us do, hard labor for, I made $5.25 a month. It's different everywhere. Some people get paid nothing. And you mean to tell me on top of that, you're transporting our kids to billionaire elite PDFs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, and I cover all that in my book too, like with the stats and everything. And like, yeah, I mean, it always goes back to our ally. Like, I like to say that too. Like, it always goes back to our ally. And that's like any politician that is, taking any type of money from them right now. Nope. I don't care. I don't care if you passed a million good things for the people. You're a traitor, and you should be treated as such. And yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be loyal to America and put Americans' interests first if you are equally loyal or more loyal to another country.
That is and the CEO that owns the telecommunication devices in the prisons, because out of nowhere they just decided, oh, we're not going to do contact visits anymore. So when children go see their parents, it would have to be through glass. Well, the CEO who owns that company, that's literally just there to make money off of, families suffering and pain and separating kids and parents. He was on Schmepstein Island.
Mm.
So, I mean, all of the shocking, like all of these CEOs who own companies that profit off of horrible things, like there's no need for that. There's no need for that. Yes, you do need to have visits where there's glass. Sure. Sometimes it's necessary. But the inmates that don't need that, like you're not just hurting them, you're hurting their kids, you're hurting their family. Like, we don't do time alone. And that's one thing I learned. Like, your family is, doing that time with you. They have to worry that, like, they're going to get that phone call or not get that phone call. And then, like many families, they don't find out till weeks or months after their loved one had been unalived in there. And, sometimes their organs are gone.
Yeah, you're right. It's not just the people that we put into these prison systems, people who are incarcerated. It is their families. It's the people that they care about.
Yeah, I think Katrina, was prime example of America's, treatment of their lowest citizens. At the jail in New Orleans, they just let those inmates drown, and a lot of them weren't even sentenced yet. Like, they could have been in there on a misunderstanding and been completely innocent, and they were told, if you try to escape, you're gonna get pew-pewed. Mm-hmm. So if you try to save your life, you're gonna, like, that story always stuck with me, because they have these fire drills in jail, and I'd be thinking, like, dude, if the building's on fire, you want me to lock in a room and trust you to get me out? Like, that's not gonna happen. Like, I'll play your little game and do your procedure or whatever, but let's just be for real. Like, if the building's actually on fire, like, I'm fighting all of you. And how many times have inmates been just left to whatever's happening, whether it be the building on fire or, a hurricane or flooding or whatever, and the cops just leave them there.
Yeah.
And you can't get out like that. Oh my God. It's awful. And, they love collective punishment. They tear gassed this one girl in solitary, and it came through our vents. So all of us got tear gassed.
Oh my gosh.
You can't get away from it. And yeah, I mean, I've been, out in like groups where, somebody threw something, like they, and that happens, but there's air, like it disperses, like in cells. There's nowhere for it.
Yeah, where does it go?
You're stuck in
it. There's a comment that, like, my eyes keep darting around. Yes. Because so, like, in front of me, I have the studio, and then over here, I have Insta, and over here, I have YouTube. So I'm, like, looking everywhere, trying to make sure that I'm, like, finding all the comments and making sure that everything is being transferred over. So I apologize if I look shifty-eyed, as they said. Also, I know I see, like, on the different platforms, a lot of people that we know, friends of us. So if anybody is interested in coming up and being a part of the panel, you can. The way to do that is, like, text me and say that you want to. And then if you're going to, like, use it on your phone, I can just text you. We're using StreamYard in the background, so the StreamYard code, or if you want me to email it to you, send me your email. If you want to jump up on the panel with us, those of you who are our friends, other people, if you're interested in joining the panel in the future, then we can talk offline, vet you a little bit, and then you can join us in the future.
So I got a question for you. The Schmepstein survivors, the court ruled that their rights had been violated, where the government didn't go after him the way they were supposed to, but there was no remedy for it.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing basically happened to me. I filed a PREA complaint against Somerset County Jail in Maine because they forced me to strip in front of cameras under duress of being maced, extracted, rain down violence, all that fun stuff. And they had illegal cameras inside of the solitary cells, which they can't do. It's against the law in Maine. But for whatever reason, they've been allowed to get away with it. Well, when they basically, in the PREA complaint, Somerset County's response was, yeah, we did it. We find your complaint unfounded. So basically they said, yeah, we did it. And they admitted to everything I was complaining about. And they just said, yeah, too bad. We didn't do anything wrong. That stops it right there. Like, it prevents the investigation from going any further. But more than that, Alderson wouldn't even let me hold the complaint to allow me to read it myself. And I said, fine, I'll send it home. And they said, no, you can't do that. We don't allow that. And this is how these prisons, cover things up.
Mm-hmm.
So but that I noticed it was kind of like the same thing with the files. Like, there was just no remedy for it. And when you get out, the first thing they ask for is, if I were to file a complaint, like an official one, they'd say, where's the paperwork? And it's like, well, I filed it, but they wouldn't give me a copy of it. Come to find out, the captain and 4 of his subordinates at Alderson were all graping and stalking inmates and tampering with PREA evidence. So I just had my paperwork tampered with. It was not that bad for me. It was so much worse for other women. And when we're talking about dozens of women that came forward and even more that stayed silent. And he only got 10 years, for what he did to inmates, and abused his job and his badge and everything else. But when I got out, I found out, I requested the paperwork from Somerset and they refused and said, we already gave it to you. No, you didn't. You gave it to Alderson. And by law, they have to give me the paperwork, but there's no consequence if they don't. And here's the problem we keep running into, with assault and, these types of crimes. It's like, they'll say, yep, you're right, that's wrong, and that's against the law, but there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
Yeah. And there needs to be consequence. This is why I keep pushing for the PREA bill that closes that loophole where, for every day you stonewall an inmate and refuse to hand over the paperwork, that'd be like $100 a day or whatever you can sue for. But because that caused other problems too. They wouldn't give me my medical records. And so I had this gap in, I was there for 13 months. That's an entire year where they had me on medications and everything else. So when I got out and went to the doctor and my therapist, I was on main care. They wanted to put me back on a medication that I had already taken, and it put me in psychosis. But I couldn't prove that I had been on it because Somerset County would not give me my paperwork. Yeah. So I had to go back on this, before the insurance company would pay for something else because your word isn't good enough. You have to have the documentation that a doctor says you've been on it. And I had to go on this medication again. And because doctors had previously said that I was difficult and wouldn't cooperate, but yeah, I imagine I am difficult and, don't cooperate well when you're giving me medications that are putting me in psychosis and causing serious mental health issues. Because I'm completely intolerant to a lot of psych meds. And I couldn't prove that I was on this stuff. So, I had to go on it again and they test me because that's in my file. So I had to take that again, which caused me to spiral again. And I actually ended up hurting myself really badly, not knowing what I was doing, completely it's like being on a bad trip. I don't know, for any of you who have experimented with hallucinogenics, like those psych meds, like they're no joke, and everybody has a different chemical makeup in their brain, and they all affect everybody differently. Like there's a whole spectrum of an insanity that can happen to you. And so how would you like deal with all that? And like, would you support that bill for the PREA thing? I think we could like extend it to like survivors in the community as well, because like that's the same thing that happened to the Schmepstein survivors. You know, yeah, they're what do you mean there's no remedy?
Yeah,
There's a remedy for everything else.
right. There can be. And I mean, again, just because somebody is incarcerated does not mean that they should be denied humanity. And they should have access to a lot of the things that we've discussed with healthcare, with hygiene products, and then also to the appropriate paperwork, to complaints. And yeah, there are ways, whether it's fines or lawsuits, or I mean, there's so many ways that you can go about it, both at a federal level and at a state level. But people and institutions need to be held accountable and provide everything that they're supposed to the people in their care.
Absolutely. And like just the fact that they keep getting to investigate themselves, like
Yes.
What planet is that okay on? Like, I mean, are you gonna let unalivers and rapists and all them investigate their crimes? Like, why is this like this so stupid? That is the dumbest way to do things, by letting people investigate their own crimes and letting people make decisions when they suffer no consequences when they get it wrong.
Yep. Absolutely. In the comments, can you just let people know what the name of your book is again?
No Justice, Just Us. It's got a pink cover. I painted the cover myself. I was an artist in prison too. I painted murals, and also I did it as a hustle. Like I would sand people's coffee cups down and paint on it, and then some of the girls would hustle floor wax, and I'd paint the floor wax on it so it wouldn't wash off. And like, I know it sounds like corny and everything, but it really was like giving these women like a piece of their identity back. Like, you're stripped of everything, including your name, and given a number. And, it literally says in your paperwork, property of the Bureau of Prison, or the state of Louisiana, or the state of Maine. Like, you are literally reduced to property and, an inventory number, and you're given the same clothes. Like, yeah, it's just all of it is very dehumanizing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it shouldn't be. You can serve your time and still be treated like a human.
Yeah, I mean, they do it in, all these other European countries where the inmate like lives in a decent space where, it's not freezing in the winter and, brutally hot in the summer. I mean, last summer, what was it? Like Texas had 56 heat-related casualties. And after like an hour of the body laying there, the guy's body was still like 127 degrees or something outrageous. Don't quote me on that number, because it was like way hotter than it should have been, and like the body had been sitting there. Bodies go cold, like immediately. And I mean, think about it. These institutions are built, old brick buildings. What do bricks do? People build ovens out of bricks. You are literally slow roasting these people. And I know how bad it was up north. And like, we used to joke and be like, man, I wish we were down south right now, because they have AC. No, they don't. They literally let these people just roast. And it's horrible. And there's a lot of like psych meds that you can't do that. Like, you will literally like go into heat stroke faster, like being on some of these psych meds. And like, I don't know, like, just imagine what that's doing like to their organs. Like, it's literally slow roasting.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's hot out, go sit in your car. Go sit in your car for a minute on one of these hot days.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these people are living in all the time. That is like that is beyond excruciating.
Yeah. Again, I'm like looking across. So one comment that we have is that we don't have closed captions. So I need to figure that out, because absolutely we should. I don't know how to do that live, but I will work on it. Switching topics a little bit, we do have a comment about voting. So we just had, the race on Saturday, and said voted on Saturday. The only thing on my ballot was the primary, the runoff for the Senate race. Question is, why can't we force a primary for Congress? So unfortunately, the primary or the election system is put into place by the governor and the state legislature. So in theory, we could have a primary before the November election. I know Jenny's in the comments. I forget what bill they passed a few weeks ago, but they did pass a bill that changed the House races from a closed primary to a jungle primary in November, and it did pass both parts of the legislature, and then the governor signed it. So in theory, we could, like, if the state legislature cared, if they wanted to, they could have that. They chose to, thank you, Jenny, House Bill 842. They chose to change it back, just like they chose to redraw the districts and make a new map for the 2026 election. They didn't have to, they chose to.
I think the whole electoral college system should be tossed in the trash, since it's rooted in white supremacy, Jim Crow era, and it was specifically designed to, disempower certain groups of people, and I just think it's repulsive. I think everybody should get a vote, and it should count as one vote.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, you shouldn't like have a district that's worth more, or it's so stupid.
Yes.
Hillary would have won. Hillary got the popular vote. You have a system where more people can vote for a candidate and still lose.
Yeah.
That's
twice in the last 24 years it happened.
Dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, and this is one of those like things like my neurodivergent brain like will never accept, because it's just so stupid to me. Like, how hard neurotypicals, like, how do you come up with these crazy systems? Like, that's so complicated, and it just harms people. Well, that there you go. Like, at the core of everything is let's benefit a few awful people that don't deserve it. And in the South, when they had slave owners, they would count their slaves as that many votes to sway the election, and that's what it's rooted in too. Like, that's how it started out as. So, like, why are we having this racist system that was basically designed to benefit slave owners? Yeah. And let them have more voting power and use their slaves? When were the Native Americans even allowed to vote? Wasn't it like the 50s or something?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Like, people like to act like that so long ago, and they love to have their black and white pictures, even though they had, color printing back then. Give us the illusion that it was this long time ago. And, it's just, I think we need like a whole new voting system. Like, this is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. I do see that Facebook does have closed captions available. So if you need captions, go to the Facebook Live. It may not be on the other ones, but no, absolutely. They want the system to be complicated on purpose so people don't understand. And a lot of the initial system was rooted in racism and slavery, in the geographic landscape of the United States, the idea of like representation being somebody who physically represents you. When we didn't have all the tools that we do now to be able to connect people across the country, across the world, it 100% has outlived its usefulness, if it ever was useful. And other countries like don't do this. And if you think back to like our founding, okay, thank you, Rhea, 1957, the Native Americans got their voting rights. Yeah, like it's crazy. Our Constitution was written to be amended. The goal, if you look back at Jefferson's writings, every generation, the idea was that we amend, that we add, we subtract, that we're able. It's a living document, and it hasn't lived in a long time.
And we have phones now and programs that everybody could send their vote in.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a video of yourself just to make voter ID, whatever you got to do. I mean, come on. Mm-hmm. Have your ID, make a little video, whatever we could come up with the stipulations. We wouldn't even have to go to a voting booth anymore. We could literally do it from our phones. I mean, we have the Go Voter app. The thing's already in there. Right. We could just do it from our phones, have that counted, and it'd be 1 for 1. Everybody gets a vote. None of this, regional nonsense that is designed, to leave people out. I mean, 1957, that's when the Native Americans were allowed to finally vote. Yep. My dad was born in 1953. I mean,
yeah.
It's not that long ago.
It's really not. Our history as a country, I mean, we're about to celebrate 250 years. A lot has happened in 250 years.
Absolutely.
And a lot has happened recently in the last 100 years, in the last 75 years. Like, we're not as advanced as a country as we like to think that we are.
No. And, minority groups in this country have been screaming at us white folks for, years, saying, no, this is still going on. This is still bad. And we're like, oh, no, this country isn't racist. It's not bad. It's not the whole system. It's just a few bad apples. And, they still have native reservations, closing in like the early 2000s. The boarding schools and everything. We have been lying to ourselves, and now it's finally, come to a head, and here we are. We're all suffering now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Other comments about the parties? Yeah, we need more than. I mean, the comment says 2 additional parties. More than that.
I am a no party voter, and I'm not happy with the do nothing Democrats at all. I am so done with establishment Democrats. Like, you might as well be Republican. Like, just go to Izzy and, kiss the wall.
Well, I was thinking, this whole redistricting thing happened where they're like, well, a third of Louisiana is Democrat, a third is Republican, a third is no party. What if everybody's no party? What if there are no parties? And then you wouldn't be able to gerrymander based on your political affiliation, and you'd have to actually look at the people who are running. And of course, you can look at ideology and kind of see where they land. But I mean, the idea of parties, Washington was so against the idea of parties, of factions growing in our government, because it creates this team mentality. It doesn't matter if we actually win as long as you lose.
Yeah. Man, we'll burn the whole country down just to be king of the ashes. This is ridiculous. It really is political warfare. You better vote for us just so we can do nothing for you because they're worse. I am tired of it.
Yes. Yeah. On both sides, that's all the rhetoric that you hear from these establishment politicians. Both sides is at least we're not them. At least we're better than them. How? How are you better than? I mean,
you allowing this to continue and not doing anything about it when you're the one with the authority and the power to do something about it. That is just as bad. It's just as bad.
Yeah, and what is the positive vision for the future? It can't be that I'm not them.
Right. Like, oh, at least I'm not in the files. Like, dude, that is like bare minimum. Come on. Like that.
Yeah, but Rhea, you're right. Like the challenge is that nobody has a chance if they're not backed by a big political party, either the left or the right. Like running as a candidate.
Well, now, honestly, look at Graham Plattner. He's killing it up in Maine, and he is not backed by. They're going after him harder than they are the Republicans, and that's what's crazy to me. It's like he's standing for all the things you guys claim to stand for. He wants universal health care. He wants corruption to end. He wants veterans to get what they need. He wants affordable housing, and all the stuff that progressives want, and you will go after him before you go after the Republicans.
Yep.
Because
or even Mamdani,
yes,
when backed him. Like nobody, it took them forever to back Mamdani. Like
they were more mad about him than they were, the same thing. It's like, give me a break. And now that he's like, he's what are they calling him? The kingmaker now? If Mamdani endorses you, then you're automatically going to get it.
Right, but I think it was Jeffries. I believe it was Jeffries who said after Tuesday's elections, when he was like, well, Zoran has like some work to do to be back in our good graces. It's like, what?
Excuse me, like you have some work to do before even getting in the people's good graces.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't go with the establishment, and they don't like that. Like, if you're not, like, you all answer to us. Like, you are here to work for us. You should be worried about what we think of you. Like, this is the problem. Like, these politicians got too big for their britches, and, like, they forgot. Like, they'd rather please their donor than please the people.
Yes.
Like,
okay, well, story time. So, the Louisiana Democratic Party, they are using this fundraiser, and about 50% of the money goes to the fundraiser and not to the party. And I called them out on it. I triple checked my sources, including like the treasurer. Like that's a lot. I think people understand that if somebody does a service, you get a percentage. Like that's normal. 15 to 20%. That's normal. 50%, 50. That's crazy. So I made a video out on it, and I got texts from people that were like, you made a huge mistake. Like, if you ever want to be a part of the Democratic Party, if you ever want us to back you in the future, like, you'll take the video down. Like, this isn't what we do. Like, you've made enemies. Like, well, good thing that, like, I don't care about being a part of the Democratic Party. I care about running for Congress in District 4 and helping my constituents.
Right. I'm not your kids table.
Right. And like, if calling out potential corruption or like at least something that people should take note of, like something that is outside of the norm, if calling that out means that I don't get to sit at the cool kids table, or that like the Democratic Party doesn't like me. Okay.
Right. It's okay. You can come sit at our table, and we have people at ours, so.
Right. But yeah, it's crazy that for some people the mentality is party over the everyday person. And
it's the who. Like, dude, I am so sick of that. I'm so sick of it. Like, I would rather vote for Thomas Massey than I would a lot of these, Democrats. And I don't even agree with Thomas Massey on barely anything except him calling out the corruption. Like, at this point, it's so bad. I would rather have somebody call out the corruption and, go against, and not like a lot of their policies. Like, it's really that bad because it's harming so many people. And it's affecting so much. And, Cory Booker, I'm ready for him to get out of office. Like, you were another establishment Democrat that, just.
Yeah. Yeah. Money, people being bought and paid for, of course. Yeah, just reading through some of the comments. It's been really interesting running in this race, because I assumed there'd be more people that were a little like idealistic, or that put ideals and morals over. And
no, really, we live in a very narcissistic society. Like, we really do. Like, it glorifies, violence and misogyny and everything else. And, that's what gets elevated. Like, I noticed that, with police as well. Like, the more sociopathic they are, the more raises they get, the higher up the chain they go. And then the decent people get bullied out, or they get put in danger, or, like, for every cop that harmed me, there was another risking their job trying to make it stop. And that's the problem. You shouldn't risk your job or risk anything for doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Against corruption. But this, I don't know, man, this country is insane. Like, my dad always, when he talks about Trump, because we used to live in Brooklyn, New York before we moved to Maine. And my dad did the lighting designs in some of the skyscrapers. Well, all of these contractors would come in and they'd say, don't work for Trump Tower. He'll get you to do these huge projects, put all your money into it, and then refuse to pay you. And he'd find these small companies that, were just trying to, get by, basically, and didn't have the money to sue him in court. They'd already put the money in for the materials and everything else. Like, he put a lot of, blue collar workers and Americans out of business and screwed them on, tens of thousands of dollars. And it's wild to me that people keep, defending him and buying his merch. Like, I'm like, what is this? Like, how is this even happening? Like, they're doing, Tesla commercials on the White House lawn and everything else. Like, this is, capitalism at its peak. I mean,
late stage capitalism, or I don't even know what you call it, oligarchy.
Yeah, 4th of July is like officially a day of mourning.
It can be. I have a newsletter. It goes out every Tuesday. So if you're not on my newsletter, you can sign up for it. It should be on the website. You should be able to sign up for it on the website. I believe so. If not, let me know. But in my newsletter, I put that as like, this is our 250, and we should be happy and celebrating and appreciating some things. And also, we have a very sordid history, and that's important to remember too. But we have a sordid present as well. And so it's like, how do you celebrate when we're here? But then also we should celebrate because at least like we have some wins, like there is some hope, there is something to be happy about.
Yeah. What's funny? On average, every 6 days, another country celebrates their independence from Britain. Like, every 6 days.
Yeah, they were a global superpower, and
yeah. I'm surprised they don't have like Independence Days from us. Well, they're probably, all those countries are probably still under occupation from us. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, comment: in a system that glorifies injustice, basic human rights sounds like a radical act of rebellion. Yes.
Absolutely, it does. Well, yeah, it's illegal in some places. In some cities, you can get arrested for feeding the homeless. You can get fines and stuff like that. Yep. And you mean to tell me that you're going to choose what I do with my resources and my money that I work for? How is that freedom? if I want to give my fellow man or woman food, water, because they're on the street because of this miserable ass system we're in, how dare you tell me I can't, criminalize me for it, and then call that freedom?
Or criminalize them for
Yeah.
it, lower now in Louisiana and in other states.
Yeah, and Jeff Landry, I am so sick of him and his, prison agenda. He used that mass pew-pewing, to as PR for, expanding Angola or whichever institution he said. They get so much money from Louisiana, labor, and they don't pay for it. They are the same owners that were, running the plantations, here back when. And it has not, it never ended. It just got rebranded. And, we're all one bad situation away from being right there inside there with them,
Absolutely. Lynn Robinson is in the comments and watching us. So she and I do a video series called Why It Matters. And we recorded episode 4. I'm in the process of editing it. It's taking me a little bit, but we like the history of Angola itself was that they bought it to have people work the land who were imprisoned, like this, indentured servitude. And then the state bought it out, but we're just using people for work and calling it something different.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, when they took away, human ownership and gave them that loophole, and basically, that's the ultimate motive for having the criminal justice system that we do. Oh, well, we can all make money off of this.
Right.
We'll just call them criminals. We'll make everything a crime, and we'll just. And if we run out of crimes, we'll just get them addicted to a substance and, throw them in there for that. And, that's why we have, that's why we have the highest rate of incarceration. We make up 25% of the global incarceration rate. And while only being 5% of the world, like, we have more people in prison than continents. Like, that's crazy. And are you all sick of being gaslit with this land of the free slogan? Because that's crazy. Like, what level of, psychological warfare do y'all got to be on to, really think that, that illusion's going to work anymore?
Yeah, Rita says in Maryland, there's a homeless ban. They fine people $500 for sleeping outside without a permit. And then, people are imprisoned when they can't pay the fine. That's what Louisiana just passed as well.
Yep. And when was it, the Super Bowl happened down here or something, they rounded all the homeless people up and put them in another location. So all the rich people didn't have to look at, New Orleans lowest or whatever they want to call them. It's like, you could have done that this whole time. You could have had these people housed for not even very much money. You could have got, it's cheaper to house people than what we're doing.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. Oh yeah, Lynn reminded me as well that Landry opened up a specific part of Angola that used to be the solitary component for undocumented immigrants, and so like making that, it's crazy. But in our episode, whenever I officially get it all edited, there's a lot of history that Lynn was able to look through and kind of show us how we got to the point here, especially in Louisiana, where we have the highest per capita incarceration rate in the entire country.
Yeah, like when I first moved here, I was like, all right, well, this makes sense. New Orleans is my dream city, and I can continue fighting mass incarceration, at ground zero, where it is the worst in the country. And little did I know I'd be facing off Jim Crow instead, literally.
Both.
Yeah, yeah, both.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, my mouth about hit the floor when I watched that clip of him talking about we don't do hugs for thugs policies. I was like, okay, LePage. He's exactly like Paul LePage. He went on a rant up in Maine talking about black thugs come from the hood and come up from the city to Maine and they impregnate our white women and flood our streets with substances. Like, my guy, I was involved in all of that, and I can promise you the only reason they started coming up here is because white police informants and addicts went down there to get them. Like, it was y'all police doing that, because they get more money in the feds for, if we cross state lines, you're in more trouble, basically. So it fed the prison pipeline more. It got Mainers addicted to a whole lot of substances that wasn't originally up there. Like that white stuff, that was a lot harder to find in Maine. We really only had, pills, which we were coming over the border from Canada, and, that green, basically. Like all the other stuff, it was like rare. It wasn't, constant. It wasn't like a constant thing you could always get, like when you were in the city. That's different now. That is very much different now.
Yeah. Just a reminder to everybody in Louisiana. So our governor has made some crazy executive orders, laws, declarations. And if you don't like that, there is a recall that is happening for the governor and for the attorney general. Go to louisianadeservesbetter.com. You can see all of the recall locations in your area. They're happening across the state, and they're parish leads everywhere. We need about 600,000 signatures, validated signatures by, I believe it's October 12th or 13th, somewhere there. So we have some time. But make sure that you sign, you get involved if you are in Louisiana and you are a registered voter. There, again, places all over so that we can put the recall of our governor and attorney general on the ballot.
I am so sick of her posts. Like every other day, she's just posting all of these like predators, as she likes to call them. Like, good. You're getting, sexual predators off the street. Meanwhile, you're protecting the worst ones doing the worst things, in powerful places. Like, you're fine when it's some low-level poor person who, did that. Like, and good. I'm glad. I will never, be mad that they got a predator off the street. I'm mad she only goes after, like, poor people.
Yeah.
Like, and the worst ones are people in higher places.
Right. I mean, we know that from the files.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I gotta grab my nasal spray. I can't breathe.
No problem. While Elizabeth is doing that, comment or question, Matt, what are some of your plans for Congress? So you can go to my website to read a lot more, mattgromlichforcongress.com. And just in general, my priority is healthcare. We talked about that a little bit in the beginning, making sure that everybody has access to healthcare that is not tied to your job, that healthcare is affordable, covered. I support universal healthcare, and especially like extending out universal healthcare as we go. Really looking at our vulnerable populations. Also education. So I'm an educator, I'm a teacher. That's my background. I just finished year 14. And I want to make sure that everybody has access to education, extending our K-12 system to include 3 and 4-year-old pre-K. taking that cost of childcare out of the pockets of parents, which on average is $13,000 a year in America, and making sure that we are providing the education and support that we need to our youngest population, looking at higher education, how do we make that affordable for our young, 18 to 22-year-olds and other people going back for education, accountability, and yes, the people in the White House and this current administration, we have to hold people accountable who break the law. And there's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of law breaking that has happened and continues to happen with this administration that we need to make sure they're being held accountable. Looking at infrastructure, I've talked a lot about how, especially in Northwest Louisiana, part of our district, where we have really poor water quality, and we're working with some of the mayors in towns, in parishes, so that we're able to provide better water quality and not be on these water boil advisories that we consistently have up here in the Caddo area. I can go on. There's tons on my website as well, providing healthcare access to the LGBTQ community, making sure that women have access to healthcare, and that we're protecting women's bodily rights and autonomy. If there are specific spaces or topics that you want me to cover, I can as well. Those are kind of the highlights of my platform.
We also need to start considering mental health part of normal health. Like, that drives me nuts. Like, no insurance company covers any type of mental health anything. And it's like, dude, that causes like a lot more than people think it does. Mm-hmm. Like, if you have an anxiety problem and your blood pressure keeps going up, like, it will affect you physically. Like, and
I swear, if a lot of these like man children in the current administration just got some actual therapy 40, 60 years ago, like, imagine how much better our country would be.
Yeah, or if they just admitted they like butt stuff.
Yeah.
It would be so much better.
Which could happen with therapy. You could be able to self-actualize and understand and then get out of.
Right.
Yeah. So let's see. Question. So is Trump against genocide? He says that he is in some places, but I mean, we've seen that he's not. He only cares about the right people, usually like the white people. So if there's a genocide of anybody, any territory, country that doesn't fit his vision of who the right people are, then he doesn't care. And we see that in Gaza. We see that in Iran. There are a lot of people who are being killed. A lot of civilians, children are being killed. We have a genocide right now that is happening that people are not saying is a genocide. We really need to help the people who can't defend themselves inside of our country and outside of our country, not support Israel. We need to support the people in Gaza. It's crazy that even some Democrats, or a decent amount of Democrats, can't say that what's happening in Gaza with the Palestinian people is a genocide and that Israel is the aggressor. We should be able to say that.
Yeah, that's... I mean, and there's multiple going on right now. I mean, there's, they extended it to Lebanon, what's going on in the Congo. Also, a few billionaires can have access to, all of their resources to themselves. And so they can expand their land like that. It's disgusting. And I get so sick of, even I got into an argument with one of my boomer parents about this, at the beginning of this whole thing, when we blew up the Houthis for stopping our trade route. And they're like, well, they stopped our trade route. And I'm like, so you're saying our Amazon packages are more important than those people's lives. Okay, they stopped our trade route because why did they stop our trade route? In protest of what's going on in Gaza and what our tax money is funding. Like my tax money is going to unalive innocent children that are descendants of Jesus Christ. Literal descendants of Jesus Christ. And I'm not a big Bible thumper, none of that. But come on, like that's y'all's whole point and your whole religion. And they bombed Bethlehem on Christmas. And y'all are okay with it. Like it's just wild to me. Like, I'm sorry guys, but Jesus wasn't white. He looked Arab and he came from Palestine. He was a poor migrant.
And he was Jewish.
Yeah.
Christianity didn't exist.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it's really sad that how we value life, or the fact that we don't value so many lives, like, again, inside America and across the world.
Yeah, and the Jewish people that are speaking out against what the Israeli government is doing, that live there in Israel, they're getting beat down in the street and terrorized. And, they're literally saying, like, you're going against the Torah by doing this. Like, what is wrong with you? And they are getting, they turn on their own people. Like, it's uphold white supremacy and uphold this supremacy, or we're going to turn the violence on you. And I commend them for standing up, because that government has proven to be very, very violent and vengeful.
Absolutely.
Even on their own people. And I think it was another 9/11-ish thing. Have you seen the videos of the IDF soldier saying, yeah, we had a stand down order, and yeah, all this stuff, they knew they were coming that day, and basically they sacrificed their own people just to justify going into Gaza and slaughtering more. And that's basically what kind of happened on 9/11. You wanted to go into Iraq and Afghanistan and all those places, so they use that to justify it. Like, yes, 1,000 Americans' lives were lost, or around that number. Well, I can't remember. But yeah, that was like the worst T attack we'd had, ever, I think. And yeah, it was horrible. But why should 1 million Iraqis be brutalized for it? Like, that's how that ended, with 1 million Iraqis gone, their entire country decimated. We never found weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, in the comment, Maria, they're using religion to mask their corruption and justify genocide. Yes, and then we're doing similar things here in the United States.
Yeah. I'm definitely tired of right-wing evangelical Christians and their whole abortion. The only thing the Bible says about abortion is how to have one. Like, I can't remember which passage it is, but regarding an unfaithful woman, the priest gives her a potion, and if she's been unfaithful, her womb will swell and miscarry.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, it's not against God. So basically, you can unalive a baby as long as it's over a man's ego.
There are so many things that people think are in the Bible that aren't, or that are, but were misinterpreted or mistranslated, or don't have the same connotation or context that they did when it was written. I took a lot of religious studies classes in college to understand my own religion and religious path. And yeah, there's a lot. Excuse me, my dog wants to be let out. She's
okay. Yeah, when I was in prison, a friend of mine tried to order the banned books of the Bible. I think she was trying to get like Gospel of Judas or one of them. I can't remember exactly which. But the prison wouldn't let her have it. So, naturally, me and my oppositional defiant traits, when I got out, I had to read them. Have you read those? The Gnostic texts, like the Gospel of
Yeah.
Judas? And that, man, that will spin your head around. And it's like, man, y'all don't even know half the story.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I want to see. Like us Northerners, we used to like watch movies and like the clips with these crazy Southern like super religious extremists, and they're like passing around rattlesnakes and everything. We were all like so intrigued by that. We're these Southern religious fanatics. And so here's my proposal. If these politicians want to write laws based on their Bible, bring in the serpents. I want to see you stick your hand in a basket of serpents and prove that God is protecting you in this decision and this law you're making. And, yeah,
Go into
bring
line.
up the serpents.
Yeah.
Bring up the serpents. They do it in Texas every year. Like, they bring all the rattlesnakes out and like put them in the state capitol. That article stressed me out. That was too many snakes for inside for me. But yeah, I think that's fair. Like, if fine, I will go straight Handmaid's Tale and put the red little bonnet thing on and the dress, but you're gonna stick your hand in that pit in that basket of snakes first, and you're gonna prove to me that God wants this, and then afterwards, fine.
Yeah, books of Enoch and Judas.
Yes.
Are opening. Yeah.
Apocalypse of Adam. That's another good one.
Yeah, I took a whole class in college. It's called intertestamental literature. It was all the literature that was written between the Old and New Testament, because there's this huge gap in time. I think about 200 years. It's been a while. And so, like, why was that not included? What's missing? What like historical information can you glean from that period of time that's just like absent? Because we go now just old to new. So that was, I remember it being interesting. It was a long time ago, but like, I didn't even think about when these books were officially or originally published, and that there's other literature that's being written at the same time. Why is it not included?
Right.
All of that.
And you think about the life of Christ, like, okay, he was a baby, he was born, and he was fleeing Herod and all that. And then all of a sudden he's 30 years old.
Right. Yep.
Where's the rest of it? And, I was chatting with a girl in jail who like went to college and like studied. She was really smart, but she got addicted and ended up doing a pharmacy robbery because she was in full-blown detox out of her mind. And she was telling me that Jesus went to study other religions and like became enlightened and all that stuff. And she's like, they didn't want you to know that because they want you to think he was always walking that he had that perfect life. And then I read an article, and I don't know how valid it is, but when he was a child, he went through a lot of he had a lot of spiritual gifts, obviously, as we all know. And he got possessed by demons. He was very badly affected and afflicted by demons. And also another situation where the town's kids were bullying him and trying to hurt him, and he kind of freaked out, and basically all those kids were no longer with us, and he had a lot to deal with and go through and overcome before he became that ascended master or son of God or whatever you want to call him, depending on your beliefs and spiritual path. But I thought that was really interesting, like, because why don't you have, but then, in the Quran, there's that story about Jesus turning the three toy or wooden birds into real birds and performing miracles like that. And that's what also gets me, like, why is there this, agenda to make Christians and Muslims hate each other? Like, hello, guys. Jesus, he's one of their prophets. They believe pretty much the same thing you do. Like, Jesus is one of their prophets, one of their most highest regarded prophets. He's not the son of God, but he's still holy, and he's still, and Christ called God Allah, back in the old language that they use and everything. Like, that was the word for God back then. And I'm pretty sure they speak the same language, Arabic now. Like, wouldn't he? Or no, it would have been Hebrew. He would have spoken Hebrew then, right?
Yeah, Hebrew. And then there's some like Aramaic.
Yeah, Aramaic. Right, and like Sumerian.
Yeah,
those were the languages back then.
Really interesting, because my junior, senior year of high school, I went to this public boarding school basically in North Carolina, and my roommate next door was Muslim. He was the first like Muslim person that I really met and got to interact with deeply. And yeah, he was like, oh yeah, of course, like Muslim people, Christian people, Jewish people, he's like, we call them people of the book. Like, we're so much more similar in our beliefs than we are different. And growing up in the South, like, that was
taught to hate that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, so I think there's a lot. And Lynn says in the comments, kind of like the combination of this is like, there's so many world conflicts, and religion is often the reason why a lot of these conflicts occur. And it's hard to understand all of these other cultures, religions, their backgrounds, their histories, because we barely understand our own.
Right.
And so then, like, knowing how to interact with these other cultures and knowing like foreign policy and how do we on a federal level pass laws and like interact in that way. It's a lot. It's a lot to learn. It's a lot to know. It's a lot to do.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I think you'd be great at that, though. Like, your energy is like very welcoming and like humble, like towards everybody. Like, I don't really see you having a problem with, people from other countries.
No,
I think toe to toe with some people here, though.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some people here that should do better.
Yeah. Any questions, comments?
I don't think many questions. I mean, we've had like decent interaction in the comments from all three platforms.
Nice.
So yeah, I think we'll maybe start wrapping up. I know we said until 9-ish, so we're 8:45. I think this is great. I think we should keep doing it as long as you're good, Elizabeth.
I'm down. I got some people who want to be guests, as I told you about before, and Bad News Bears definitely wants to come back too. So yeah.
So yeah, you and I can talk about like this platform, if like TikTok. We'll
Absolutely.
Politics Chicks are in the Facebook Live. So hello, welcome. My interview with them just dropped yesterday morning. Time is crazy for me. I think today it just dropped. So go check that out. My interview with the Politics Chicks. They're fantastic, amazing. It was a really great interview. You all did a phenomenal job in the editing, especially editing out my dogs barking in the background. I don't know how you did all of that. My dog was a little crazy during that time. And thank you everybody for joining us. We're okay. Yeah, it was today. Cool. Yeah, we appreciate you being here and hanging out, and we'll do this again next Monday. We had on average like about 15 people consistently throughout, so
That's
you know,
good.
we can build up our viewers, especially once we have some consistency.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. And like I said before, anybody who wants to join the panel, this is open for you all. Just let us know if you're a friend of ours already, then you can join anytime. If you're not a friend of ours at the moment, then let's become friends. We want to vet you a little bit before you jump up, but let's become friends. We can talk offline, the 2-3 of us, and get to know each other a little bit, and then you're more than welcome to jump up in future times.
Also, check out my book, No Justice, Just Us, on Amazon. Okay, so the paperback is on Amazon. The ebook is on all the other platforms. I'm having formatting issues. Still haven't figured it out, but I'm going to. Yeah. Check it out. It's got a pink cover. I'm waiting on the physical copies to get to me so I can actually like show you guys in a video. But yeah. Check it out. It's a true crime memoir. I've been told it reads as a psychological thriller because I met worse sociopaths than my ex on the street being a dealer. So that was fun. I break down the whole system, include real stats, it dive into my court case, evidence, mental health and trauma. Yeah, you're in for a wild ride. Trigger warning. Massive trigger warning because there are some rough chapters in there, but it needed to be said. So
Absolutely. And check out mine and Lynn's new video series, video podcast, whatever you want to call it. It's called Why It Matters. 3 episodes have been dropped.
That, by the way,
I know.
that was very clever. Very clever. I like it.
I can't take credit. Jenny, and if she's still here, she's the one who came up with it. But that's why you surround yourself with people who are more clever than you are. So,
right. You can be the dumbest person in the room. You're bound to get smarter.
Yes. I never want to be the smartest person in the room.
No.
So, yeah, Why It Matters. 3 episodes dropped. I'm working on the 4th one. Sorry, Lynn. I'm a little behind on editing, but I'm working on it. We just had so many great things to say. And what else? Go to mattgromlichforcongress.com. Check out my socials. On there's volunteer, sign up for a newsletter, there's donations, and if you're wanting to come up with us on a future Monday night, then email me, text me, contact me on socials, anywhere, we'll get it. And I think that's good for me. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Bye, guys.